Hi, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I'm here on the Paper Tray Ink and Ink to Paper YouTube channel, and I'm sharing another one of the wonderful products that are in the new release. It is called Pop-Up Florals. It has these wonderful flowers and leaves and sentiments and on 2 panels. And then, of course, it has its matching die set that will cut out all of these goodies for you. And then in addition, I'm going to use another one that you've seen before. This is from the new release. It's a vine cover plate. Makes this wonderful vine. We're going to use it a little differently than before. And then I'm going to use a perennial favorite, which is the Border Brace Basics rectangle. And then I'm also going to use the Just Sentiments Bloom, which is also a new sentiment set. And so I'm going to start out with a piece of cold press watercolor paper, a A2 panel of white heavy cardstock, a black cardstock that goes behind, and then a hibiscus burst pink that's a little bit larger, and then a white card base that's a little bit larger yet. So you can see how those kind of nest together. So to get started, I'm going to take that white panel, that's the white cardstock panel. I'm going to cut out this frame. And now with that all cut out, I'm going to now emboss that vine pattern on there. And I'm going to use my die cutting machine and its rubber mat that comes with the embossing mat there, and then a bunch of sheets of paper folded just to give it more pressure so that you can get that really nice vine impression onto the paper. And we're going to set that aside. I'm going to use a piece of the, that cold press watercolor paper, and I'm going to stamp a bunch of flowers, different sizes. I'm using versafine black ink here because I want it to be watercolor, because I am going to watercolor them, and it gives a really nice crisp black. That's one of the reasons why I like it so much. So I'm just going to stamp a bunch of them. You can see I didn't quite get all that petal there, but that's okay. We'll fix it here in just a minute. I'm just going to stamp a couple of more leaves, and then I'm going to take a Pigma Micron pen that's waterproof, and I'm just going to mark that in. Nobody will know the difference. Just sharpen up that line and we're good to go. So now I've chosen some paper tray ink colors, and I'm just smushing them onto my mat. I'm going to just use a few of them. This is Raspberry Fizz, and I put the really intense Raspberry Fizz in the center, and then clean water drawing that paint out from the center towards the outside of the petal. And that's all I'm doing. I'm not adding more ink or anything like that. I'm just drawing it out from the center. I did add a little bit of yellow there. I like the bright buttercup, and I am using, to get it a little bit more intense, I'm using Scarlet Jewel. So these are the 3 colors that I'm using for these flowers. I mixed in a little bit of black there, just that's true black, just to make it a little bit more intense. And I'm going to do this with all of these large blossoms. They're all going to be the pink. I wanted them pretty intense, so I'm getting really intense colors in there. And then, like I say, just taking clean water and drawing it out. And I'm not being, real precise about it. I want some areas that are not completely colored in, that are still white and don't have any ink on them at all. Now I'm using even more dark colors in those petals that are kind of behind, because I want to shade them a little bit to give the flowers a little bit of dimension. I just really want those centers to just really pop and have a really bright center to them. Then I'm going to use some yellows to do these other flowers. I'm using Bright Buttercup, a little bit of Summer Sunrise, and then in a few minutes I'm going to be adding the Orange Zest, because I decided that I need even more intensity in the center, just so that it can kind of match the intensity of the pink flowers that we just did. So exactly the same technique, trying to get the most intense color in the center and then drawing it out. The greens are going to be, I'm using ripe avocado, new leaf, green parakeet, and then I'm going to add a little bit of tropical teal just because I think it needs a little bit more interest. Also going to add a little bit of pine feather because these have a lot of veining in them, so they're quite dark. So you have to kind of punch up the color to get past all of the veining that's in there. And I think I need a little bit of darkness here, adding that pine feather right at the base of these leaves, excuse me. Now with those, the coloring of the major flower is done. There are centers to this, and there is this itty bitty center for these flowers. I thought I would stamp them with Scarlet Jewel, but I'm going to go over them with Raspberry Fizz because they need to pop a little bit more. And that gets kind of lost. And Raspberry Fizz just kind of brings that out. Now there's different centers for these flowers, and I'm just kind of deciding where they should go. I'm stamping it onto different places just to see what size it is, to see which kind of flower it belongs to. I'm using the versafine black ink again. And I'm going to use the different sizes. I think there's 3 different sizes of these kinds of centers. And I'm going to use the different sizes to go into these different blossoms. With that done, I'm going to take the dies. I'm going to cut these apart and then cut out all the flowers. As you can see, I did that off camera. And I'm also going to stamp a butterfly. This butterfly comes from Vintage Flair, which was released not too long ago. And it's just the perfect size butterfly. So I stamped it onto another piece of watercolor paper. And I'm using Tropical Teal, Bright Buttercup, and Raspberry Fizz so that I can kind of, it'll be complementary to go with the flowers. And plus, I like a little touch of blue, so I'm adding just that little bit of blue, although it's quite a blue-green, so it isn't like a true blue, more of an aqua or blue-green, but I think it'll work out nicely. Again, using pretty intense colors to really go with those flowers. I cut that out. There isn't a die to that. I did fussy cut that out. That was quick work. Now I'm taking that hibiscus burst, which we know is an eighth of an inch all the way around, bigger than the white vine border that we made, and I'm scoring right inside the line, so very, very close to the edge, just a tiny bit in, and I'm scoring all the way around. I want to make a little raised border. It's a subtle touch, but I really like the way it looks. Now I'm going to go around it one more time just to crisp it up because that worked out really well. And now you'll see it has the border all the way around. I hope you can see it. That white border is going to fit right inside that. And now I'm going to take the black cardstock and I'm going to put that behind it. I'm going to roughly just kind of arrange these flowers so that I can get an idea. And the reason why is because I want to know where to stamp the sentiment. So I have to kind of prearrange these to get an idea where they might go so that I know where the sentiment might go. So here I'm going to take a white chalk pencil, one of my more invaluable tools. I'm going to use that bold, wildly sentiment and kind of mark there. The beauty of this black background that you can stamp it and then you can still move it around if you're have it not quite in the right place, but you do want to have an approximate. So I put a lot of anti-static powder there, ink this up with Versamark ink so that I can white heat emboss it. This is with bright white. Gonna really make this pop with this, get this all melted. And now I can take all those off, and you can see I have foam on the back of my frame there. And I'm going to, now I'm going to peel off these major flowers, the little foam tape that I have on the back. I did put that off camera on all of these flowers. They all have foam tape on them. And I'm just kind of just arranging those few on there because that's going to give me an idea where to mount that black panel. So I'm going to peel these off, this release paper off of the foam tape, and I'm going to just position that paper where I want it to go. Like I say, because it's a little bit smaller, I can move it around. I have a little bit of wiggle room there. And now I'm going to take some liquid glue, and I do have some foam tape on the back of the yellow flowers, but not on the leaves. We'll use a little bit of glue for that. Just going to arrange them around. Plus the butterfly, I have that with a little bit of foam tape as well. Now I like this Tombow liquid glue because it really sticks very nicely. It gives me a little bit of time to move it around, but then it sticks really quite firmly. So it's kind of perfect. And now I've decided I want to make a few little splatters, but I don't want it on the white frame. So I'm just going to be using a little bit of a few of these Post-it notes. Then I'm taking my Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White, my favorite, one of my trusty little things to splatter with. And I'm splattering the flowers as well. I wanted to have a little spots on those too. I'm going to let that dry, and while now that it has dried, I've put some double stick tape on this hibiscus burst, mounting it onto that card base. You can see the white just peeks through. It's just a tiny bit larger. And now I can press down this panel that has all of its goodies on it. Now we're almost done. I'm just taking a sparkle gel pen. I don't know if you can see the sparkle on this, but it really adds to it in real life. It's just pumps up your flowers a little bit more and adds a little pizzazz. Like I say, it's really hard to capture on camera, but it is great in real life. So I really recommend it. This pen is invaluable to me. I use it a lot. So there we have it. I really had a good time making this card. These are the pop-up florals again. Now there is an envelope too that you can use to pop up these flowers. That's another option, and I may do a video on that. We'll see if I get time, but there's lots of ways you can use these flowers. But I like how this has these bright colors. It's really nice for spring. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Be sure to pop over to blog.inktopaper.com and check out all the other inspiration and more information on this project. But also go to foiledfox.com. We have all the products there and oodles more inspiration as well. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next time.